thought we would open tonight with a biblical scripture from Isaiah 58, verse 7. Share your food with the hungry and give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them. Do not hide from relatives who desire your help. So welcome to the Park Theater in historic downtown McMinnville this beautiful January night. We're pleased to see this crowd come together collectively to address an issue that's ever pending across our nation and is not going to go away. We are blessed as a community with service organizations and groups who unite and get the job done when needed. That's why we are the volunteer state. And even though we are a nation of plenty, there are still people out there who go underserved. We have service organizations up on the mezzanine tonight. Some of you have already been up there. There's information about the support services that they provide and the things across the community that we unite to do. So we are blessed to have them here in the house today, and several of them participating in the forum afterwards. So we're here tonight to see a documentary film, an eye-opening film, about the positive solutions to homelessness. After that, there will be some survey cards and questionnaires distributed amongst the audience with pencils. There'll be a town hall meeting with questions and answers. So we have a full agenda tonight. And we hope you're truly moved by what you're about to see and hear. We want to thank our presenting sponsors tonight: Ascension St. Thomas River Park, Ben Lomond Connect, the local Youngblood and Associates, St. Matthew's Episcopal Church, First United Methodist Church, Security Federal Savings Bank, the Southern Standard, Roland Advertising, and many private citizens who sit amongst the audience tonight who help support us and make this film and town hall meeting possible. We also want to thank the City of McMinnville for giving us and providing the use of the Park Theater today and tonight as we gather to watch the film and at events during the day for meet and greet our filmmakers. As most of you know, McMinnville Action to Create Housing, what we're calling MATCH, is a new nonprofit that wishes to expand collectively some of the services that are provided out there and work as a team with those organizations that are still out there providing all of the things that our community needs, particularly for the unsheltered. So MATCH will be hosting the event tonight. Now, I'd like to introduce our board of directors. We can't see them, I can't see them, but these are our directors. Brad Durham is our president. We got Kerry Baker, Kelly Freeborn, Ryan Heatherly, Edith Cronlich, Charlie McClain, Bill McDaniel, Steve Allen, Lori Gretzinger Pierce, Jerry Youngblood, and myself. We're all part of the MATCH board. Our town hall meeting tonight will be moderated by Brad Durham, who is our president, and he'll introduce the filmmakers now. So Brad, if you want to come to the stage and introduce the filmmakers.
I just want to repeat and reiterate what Jimmy said. We want to thank Ascension, St. Thomas, River Park, and the City of McMinnville for providing this beautiful facility, which I'm an old man. Every time I come here, I remember seeing the Beatles' Help on a Saturday afternoon, and I wouldn't leave the theater, and my dad had to come pull me out, so I just kept watching it over and over. And it's very moving to see everybody here, and we have a great honor and privilege tonight. And I want to introduce Don Sawyer. Don, please come up. And yeah, here's Don here. I've had the benefit of seeing this film twice in 2 different cities, and I'm also had the benefit of being able to communicate with Don, and we spent a lot of time together today. And he's a great teacher, exceptional storyteller, and Don's going to give you a little glimpse of what to expect of the film. Thank you, Don.
Well, you really can't see anybody. here. Truly, I know people just say that, but it really is. I'm from Indiana. I think I'm speaking back. I'm from Indiana, and out of high school, I wanted to continue playing football, but I didn't get any scholarships. But Indiana State and Ball State said I could be a recruited walk-on, and with the possibility of earning a scholarship. My father said, "Why do you want to go be a tackling dummy for, their scholarship players?" About that time, this coach from Maryville College called me and said, "Why don't you come down here and let me make you 1,000 yards running back?" And I was like, "That sounds good." And so I decided to come to Maryville College because with the plan, I'll do that and then I can get a scholarship somewhere. But when I went to, I only went 2.5 years, I got hurt. But at Maryville, I had a roommate, and he was from Smithville. So I know this area. I went home one weekend up here and I understood this part of the country and East Tennessee. And I knew his father, he would come to games, and I knew his family, they'd come to family days. So I come up and I spend the weekend in Smithville. And his dad was in a foul for some reason, business or something. And after dinner, we were watching TV in the living room, and John Denver was on TV, some special, and he was doing his sweet acoustic stuff, but then broke into Thank God I'm a Country Boy. And, the crowd lights up, John Denver lights up, and a lot of energy, and then he said, at the end of it, he gave a big yee-haw. And all my roommate's father could say was, "He ain't no country boy. He's from the Yankee Hills." We were on the floor. It was too funny. But there's 2 points to that story that I tell you. The first point is, I could have said, "He ain't no country boy, he's from those Yankee Hills." But that wouldn't have captured the flavor of the character in which I was presenting to you. So I just want all of you that are a little sensitive to some language. The film does have some language. We're dealing with people who are living very rough lives. And it has a little bit of language. And don't let it distract you. It's not gratuitous. It's along the lines of the story. So I just wanted to prepare you for that. The other thing I wanted to express to you is I ain't some stranger Yankee coming down here to tell you a thing or two about how you should do things. Except maybe you might want to send your sons up to Indiana to learn how to play football. But I am going to tell you that if you want to solve your homelessness issue, you can do it. And you'll see in the film how you can do it, even though they're bigger communities. The blueprint fits anywhere because it's all about community collaboration. But you're going to have to want it as an entire community. You're going to have to want it. So it's my honor to present to you, Beyond the Bridge, a solution to homelessness.
We're going to go ahead and start the panel, question and answer, and I just want to say up front that this is not scripted, and what we want is for people in the audience to ask questions, and we have a wireless mic out here. Reverend McLean, you want to stand up? Everybody sees you. You identify yourself. We'll come to you in the crowd and have you ask the questions. And our panel, Sheila Fan, Executive Director of Home, Terry Bell, the County Executive, Warren County, Neil Kelly, who's the Regional President for Ascension, Rob Chastain, who's the Mayor of McMinnville, and at the end is Mark Farley, who is the Executive Director of the Upper Cumberland Development District and the Upper Cumberland Human Resource Agency. And I'm going to ask the first question, And what we're going to ask, everybody get a seat, make sure your phones are still turned off, and Sheila, we're going to start with you, and I'm going to ask one question. I just want you to pass the mic down after you answer it. And I've seen this movie now 3 times, and I would say the first time I saw it, I asked myself the question that I'm going to ask you all right now. What you saw in the film was a collaborative effort to help solve homelessness. And do you think that can work in McMinnville in Warren County? And if you do, how do you think that should start? And if you don't think it can work here, what you saw in the film, why not? Why do you think it wouldn't work?
I think it could work here. I think, as you know, that's what we do. That's what we've done here for 6 years. And we have served not dozens, but hundreds of homeless individuals. But there are people we can't serve. There are people that require more services than what we can provide. And maybe permanent supportive housing is the answer for some of those. We are a strong believer that there's not a cookie cutter situation answer, such as permanent supportive housing is the final answer. Do all, end all. But do I think that there is a group that needs it? Yes.
As a county executive, I believe it could work in Warren County. It's from what I take from the film, and it is an issue that we're all facing, and the root of this whole issue, I think, is we create a society you cannot live without money. You have to have money. And so we've got, and as in the county executive's office, I've seen, just in the last 3 months, I've had 3 different seniors call me, and they're on fixed incomes. And we're experiencing great growth in Warren County, which is a great thing. But this is one of the downfalls that comes with it. Their rents are rising, so they can't pay the rent. So they're on the verge of being homeless. So I don't know exactly the details in the model that's laid out, I understand. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to where does all the funding come to actually make this work. And if you can come up with some way to do that, but at the same time, how do we determine and not make sure that we get all the homeless from Murfreesboro or Nashville if we make this work, if they're not doing the same thing we're doing? That's the concerns that I have, but I think the program could work with the right details.
Yeah, I tend to see things kind of through a healthcare lens. So what struck me was solving the housing and housing first makes a lot of sense. But the other piece of that is making sure that we have those wraparound services to keep people healthy and to provide those social services and the things that they need to really be successful in their home. And I think from our perspective, that is who we are. As a ministry of the church, our vision statement says answering God's call to bring health, healing, and hope to all, and that to all part is extremely important to us. So we see ourselves as a safety net in the community, and certainly are committed to providing care to those folks who, by their creation, by their dignity as human beings, deserve that care. And so the services piece is what really resonated with me. I can't solve the housing part, but we can certainly be good partners in making sure that people have basic health care.
I think it could absolutely work, and I feel that I am kind of in a unique position here because I get to see this issue through 2 lenses. One is as a healthcare provider. Neil and I are colleagues at Ascension Health, but then also as a local government leader. And I think it can absolutely work. It's just going to take collaborative effort with all parties involved. Healthcare organizations, the local government, state and federal resources like the Upper Cumberland Development District, faith-based organizations, the other nonprofit organizations that are already in place. It will take everybody working together, because just like what is mentioned in the film, if the housing element is not there, the whole model falls apart. If the supportive efforts and supportive services aren't there, the whole role model falls apart. So it's just going to take a collaborative effort to get everybody on the same page toward a common goal.
I've got a little different perspective because I come from outside the community. You know, I cover 14 counties. We range from the Kentucky border all the way down here to Warren County. And, you know, the simple answer to your question is, why not? And I'm going to be honest, I was driving down today and I was thinking to myself, I've been in this venue 2 or 3 times, seen some concerts. I think the last time was see John Conley on the stage here. And I was wondering myself, how many will be? And I'm going to tell you what, when you look across this auditorium and you see the turnout that's here, it can be done here in Warren County. You've got to clearly have the concern of the community and the people in this room that can make it happen. Now, I will say this, it's going to take everybody in this room. It'll take everybody to work together in the roles that they have, but yes, if there's a will, there is a way. And I think Warren County, through the outreach that you're having here, and I'm going to commend you, you're farther ahead. That's one of the good things. I get to see what happens in multiple communities. And, you know, really across our 14 counties, we only really have probably 4 or 5 groups that are really trying to tackle the homelessness issue. Sheila has been a rising star in that world for years. And her tiny home project has been one that has been talked about all the way across the state of Tennessee. So you're already leading. I hope you understand, you're farther along than you probably think you are. So yes, it can be done.
Well, those were excellent answers, and I love the positive responses and how everybody's actually sort of rumbling with this. The idea in my mind is that we all come here and we're going to sort of wrestle with this and put our hands together and try to work together. Who in the audience would like to ask the first question? I know there's some people here that want to ask questions. And if you have it for a specific person, please ask who you want to ask, or if you want the whole panel to answer the question.
Hi, my name's Andrew. This is for the whole panel. In concept, this is wonderful. Let's look at it in reality. You're asking these people to pay 30% of their housing. 30% doesn't sound like a whole lot, but our job market in Warren County doesn't support that. How would you accomplish that?
Well, it can be that. It has to be subsidized. Now, we actually, through the development district, we actually have some rental.
No, not subsidized. They're required to pay 30% of their housing. Where are the jobs coming from?
Well, one of the things is that a lot of the people you saw in the film and who were homeless either have some kind of public assistance, and they could be working as well. So and they can actually got a better chance to get a job when they're in housing, because it's hard to work a regular job and show up on time and do all the things you got to do when you're living in a tent or on the street. We're in agreement on that, right?
We're in agreement on that.
But I'll let the panel answer that.
They're not paying 30% of the house. They're paying 30% of whatever they're making. So if they're making $100, it's $30. So it's proportional to how much they're making when they're putting that 30% in. So I don't know if that answers the question.
As far as job markets go, the city and the county, Terry can speak to this as well. We are always looking for more industry, more growth, more investment in that area for people to come here and have jobs, have income, so that they can take care of that component.
We have the industrial board that's constantly looking, trying to get new business to come in here, and we do have, I know everybody wants better jobs, and it is, but if you talk to some of the people that are actually have factories in the county, they have trouble getting employees themselves right now. So that makes it even tougher for you to go out and recruit another factory to come in from another area when we got factories that have got health-wanted jobs assigned out now. But we are continuously working that so we can get better jobs in here and higher paying jobs.
I don't really know how to answer that.
Sheila,
You kind
The
that
jobs,
question?
where are they getting the jobs? The people that you actually serve in the
Okay.
tiny homes have jobs, right? They are working.
Not when they come in, a large majority of them,
Can
not
you
when they
explain
come
that?
in. Basically, what they have to do is, and that's one of the things that takes time for our turnover, is when they come in, they're not working, by and large. And then they obtain employment, the bank account, start saving money, start doing job applications, and then it is difficult because of the lack of, of affordable housing. It is tough. It's an obstacle, but I want to say this, it's kind of an obstacle with all of us, right? I mean, we all just have to work and save and try to do the best we can, and housing is an issue across the nation. So, I hope.
We have another person who wants to ask a question.
I think everybody can hear me. What is the number of homeless in Warren County now? Do we have an estimate?
Well, we know from the last, what is called a point-in-time count, and Sheila, you can correct me, I think it was 83, and that was people who were either in temporary shelters or in a hotel because home or church or somebody was paying for it. And it's not part of the official HUD point-in-time count. There was 83, I believe there was 12 at that time in county jail. Does it count? Does that count? And the Department of Education definition of homelessness is different than what housing and urban development is, but the housing for the school system is 113 children, and that is families that are doubled and tripled up. Mike, on the point there?
Yeah. Our service numbers for 2025 were actually, I am not saying there's not a problem, but I am saying our numbers were down. They were down. We had, but that does not mean there's not a need. Just because our numbers were down over the year, and we're still compiling because we have a limited amount of resources for what we do. And if anybody would like to volunteer in our office as any type of case management or data collections, we would love to have you. But I just had to let it go. But no, it is down. That doesn't mean we haven't been busting at the seams and full and ready to cry uncle, but overall, we served around about 180 people in the last year.
Sheila,
Mark, you want to answer to that?
Sheila, talk about the pig count too and how people can help with that.
Yeah, the pig count, we're really concerned. We pushed the pig count out this year because tonight kicks it off. We pushed it out so that we could support this film. Now then, we have the snow apocalypse coming in. So we're concerned we're even going to be able to do an accurate count. We're going to hit the ground in the morning probably. And we've been trying to make shelter arrangements for our guests in our tiny home community. But we're going to do the best we can. If anybody would like to do that, the number you can call home. It's on our Facebook website, and you can give us a call. And our wonderful, tireless volunteers are there answering that phone.
I'll intercept the microphone on the way to Mark. Wayne Wolford, was that you in the back? So that question's kind of hard, like Sheila said, to answer because depending on where the information comes from, it varies all the time. Like information we get from the state of Tennessee differs from what we get from the UCHRA, which differs from what we get from the school system. And I think in helping to alleviate this whole issue, it starts by defining homelessness. What is it? Because homelessness is not the same as shelterlessness. And all the different organizations have different definitions of what homelessness is. So I think that is going to be a pivotal starting point for all of us, is coming to a consensus about what homelessness means.
And one thing that Don, I thought, did a great job was talking about the analogy of the person going upstream. You know, one of the things we've been working on through our agencies, we've had a pilot program working with young families, young working families who were not homeless, but they were struggling to get by. We've been trying to work with them, trying to figure out what moves the needle, what helps them move up the economic ladder, what helps them get upskilled and in a higher paying job. The thing that scares me when we look at a group of families, almost 900 across 14 counties, how close those young working families are to homelessness with just one car accident or one medical issue with a child or something, of losing a child care facility or whatever it may be, how close they are. So when you talk about homelessness, there is the reactive side of it where you're dealing with the ones that Sheila are working with. But the homeless battle needs to go beyond that. It needs to be proactive. You need to be figuring out how you strengthen the young families that are working, trying to pay the bills, trying to do the right thing, but life just gets in the way, and how do you get them over that hurdle without them ending up homeless?
And Wayne, I want you to get one of our brochures, because it's got the numbers in there, all right? We'd like to get another question on the microphone. Rob, are you holding your hand up?
Yeah.
Hold on. Who's got, okay. Rob Webster's next, by the way.
I just wanted to say that something that needs to be considered with, as this issue is addressed, is changing public perception about the homeless. That there's still a deep-rooted thing that people think that it's their own fault. You know, that all the things that they said, when they were talking about the things people say against the homeless, and I don't know whether that's something that can be brought into the schools or from the pulpits or whatever, the fact that that we're all like one accident, one phone call, you know, one diagnosis away from being potentially homeless. So until people start like looking at the homeless also with more compassion for the almost homeless or the drug addicts or the alcoholics, and thinking, oh, if you were just tougher, you know, or you went to church more, then this wouldn't happen to you. It's hard to I just think it needs to be addressed. And he didn't address it in the film that much.
So is that a question or just a comment?
Yeah, so do you have any thoughts on what could be done to change the public perception of that the homeless are just not trying hard enough?
The easy answer, the more you get to know them, the more you'll understand. And that's where you have to bring them out of the shadows. And I would commend, I know we've got some churches here that are going above and beyond. The more they do that, the more interaction with the individuals that are homeless, the more we're going to understand their story. And the easier it is going to be able to help them. If you know somebody, you're going to help them.
Yeah, working in healthcare, I cannot even begin to explain how easy it is to fall into a jaded mindset about seeing certain individuals over and over and over. And a lot of people will have the mindset, why do I need to keep taking care of this person that won't take care of themselves? And like Mark said, you get to talking to them, and then you find out why they fell in the river, and you can hear some really touching, heartwarming, sad stories about why they're in the position they are. So I don't know how to easily answer that question, but I think awareness certainly does need to be raised about that, because it's just a vicious cycle that repeats itself over and over in terms of our healthcare providers, our law enforcement officers, our first responders. I'd say even in the charitable and faith-based organizations, it's just a mindset that sometimes takes hold, and that's very unfortunate.
I think that's where we need to get our churches together. I know some of them are doing a great job to reach out to these people, and the interaction with them getting the church family would help our homeless situation to get to know that actually the reason they're in the place where they're at.
Well, I think that I'm losing my train of thought up here. I'm a little nervous. Y'all have to recover me.
Sheila, can I give you a moment to reflect? I just want to respond to this, and I know I'm not on the panel, but I think one of the things is that, yes, getting to know each other, and the reality is this, and I'm probably the least qualified person in the room to say this, but if you take anything of spiritual teachings, and if you believe that Jesus was the incarnate Word of God, and he says, when you do this to the least of these, you're doing it to me. And Jesus wanted to be the least, and he wanted to be the poor, and we are no different. We all are in the same boat together, and the more we realize that and want to work together and be friends and respectful and spend time with each other, the easier it gets and the more compelled we all are to help each other out, because we all need help. Anybody that thinks they don't need help is just kidding themselves, okay?
Okay, I'm with you now. I've said over the years, since we began, that I wanted to write a book, and each page would have a face and would have the story attached. I think one of the things that bothers me the most is that we think that a lot of misconceptions, I think, are drug addiction and mental illness. Don't get me wrong, it's prevalent, we know that. But in the same term, we have right now a Haven who has 13 women and 2 children. 2 of them are elderly with slight dementia. We have one who is pregnant, and it's been quite the situation for her. We've had a young mother with 2 children. We are here. We don't have permanent supportive housing. We do have to get a job. We do have to do the thing. We do have to do the housing applications and get on the list. And we do have to keep our areas clean. I'm sorry, that's just part of it. And we have responsibilities, because we all do, right? We feel better when we have responsibilities and when we achieve those and when we have goals. And we meet those goals. But, so anyway, what I want to say is we have a house full of people, women, that's just the Haven, that's not even Prosperity Point. That it's not just drug addiction and mental illness. It's just not, and I look at all those faces and I think, if only we could tell all the stories.
All right, thanks. Neil, do you want to say something?
I'm just going to add one thing. I think success stories are powerful, and when people in the community, through the churches or other organizations, see people come out of that and witness that and are able to interact with those people, it's almost like you create champions among that community who then can be examples for others. So I think knowing those people and getting to know their stories can be a powerful thing.
All right, Rob Webster, you raised your hand.
Yeah. I got too many of them. I have too many questions. First thing is, once these jobs realize they're homeless, they don't want to give you a job. And then they're like, consistent work. Well, when you're homeless, you don't have consistent work. And then another thing, with rent, it's so high, nobody can afford it. And now with the projects, they're saying it's going to be market price rent. The community, once they realize you're homeless, you're named. The cops name you. The whole community does. And there's been times I've been laying on the street. Person didn't introduce herself. First thing out of their mouth, when did the drug addiction start? I mean, yeah, at one time, I was a drug addict. December 8th, I hit my 9 months clean. I could go on and on for hours about different things that need help in this town. But I don't think we have time for that.
Well, we hear you. Do you have a question?
They are my questions.
What's the question?
You quit, I don't think it, Brad.
I gave you the question, Brad.
All right. Can you repeat the question?
Rent. Housing, the housing authorities wanting to charge people market price rents. How are we going to do anything about that? I mean,
Okay.
I applied for the house.
I mean, in the film, which is the model, the blueprint, which you're seeing us do to some extent in limited capacities, we're trying to get rental subsidies to help provide assistance with the rents, right? Is that an answer, or is that my missing?
I guess.
Anybody else want to address that? All right. Who's the next question there? Charlie?
So, just to piggyback on what he's mentioned, this gentleman up front, what are we specifically doing in McMinnville as a municipality in Warren County to encourage affordable housing?
The county is, we've actually hired a counselor, Mr. Keith Ford, he was here tonight, through our opioid funds to help with some of the drug addictions. And he's reached out to several people that have actually, when they come in my office and they call and they say they're homeless, Mr. Keith Ford reaches out to them and tries to put them in contact with resources, the Upper Cumberland. We are also preventive on the part of, they help with subsidized rent. So quick as I get a call from that, I direct them to the Upper Cumberland to help us with the subsidies to keep them from becoming homeless. And that's what the county is actually doing at this time.
I think defining affordability is another starting point, and another question that needs to be answered from the get-go, because affordability is very relative. What's affordable to one person is not to another. But I know in the city of McMinnville, we are trying to work with developers to develop higher density housing projects, and I don't mean like Section 8 housing projects. I mean high density developments where the higher density will allow for lower prices. So that is one thing that we are looking at doing within the city.
The housing situation is not unique to Warren County. This is a national issue that's being dealt with. And you know, there's literally, I'm gonna take up for the elected officials on the panel tonight. There's not a lot that the government can do. Now, you can look at your building codes and your subdivision regulations and those type of things, and every community needs to do that. At the end of the day, it's a capacity issue, and they mentioned that in the film. You look at what's happened across the state of Tennessee. We've talked about the record growth. How many people are moving in from California, from Texas, all these other communities? They're taking up the housing stock. It's happening here, it's happening in every county across the state of Tennessee. And we're not building fast enough. And that's one of the things I know a lot of times we look at it and we say, we don't want to see our community change. Well, your community's growing, and what's happening is people are coming in, they're buying up the available housing stock, and the people that are local here have no place to go. And that's one of the contributing factors. So you've got to have growth. You've got to continue. And your city council, your county commission has to encourage the growth of the housing stock. So it means more subdivisions, more building. It's going to change the look of McMinnville and Warren County. But that's really your only answer. If you're going to you build a fence around Warren County, and I'm not encouraging that, to keep people from moving in, you've got to grow with it.
I'm old enough that I know that a lot of farms, and Terry Bell can probably testify to this, there's a lot of people moving into Rock Island, and a lot of farmland's being turned into subdivisions over the past 30, 40 years. But keeping up with the growth and the demand, there's not, right now it's in the film, and Don Sawyer, you feel free to chime in here. A lot of communities are trying to deal with the fact that there's a lack of housing stock. And people are building housing, a lot of times they're doing it for a higher rate, and all the incentives and things, you have to really work hard as a community and with your state and federal, everything, to try to get the cost of housing for the homeless down. And I think that's something that there's a roundtable, that's one of the things that would be bounced around in terms of addressing that for the homeless population, the unhoused. We have another question.
Yeah, along the lines of the housing, I was just curious, I'm not familiar with the census of available housing in the middle of Warren County. Is there commensurate housing in this community to start a program like this tomorrow? Would the housing be available to support the homeless population? And I guess if not, what would be the steps in that direction?
I think there absolutely is. I think that the key is going to be finding the landlords agreeable to participate in such a program.
In my opinion, at this time right now, I don't believe the housing is available in Warren County right now for you to come up with the program, because that's the reason I have the problem with the seniors that have called me. They're on fixed income, and they pay $800 a month, and they're going up on their rent, and as quick as they go up on their rent, then they're in the process of almost becoming homeless, but there's nowhere. They called all the places they can try to rent, and there's nowhere to rent for that thing. So we're on the verge of having a bunch of residents that live here their whole life, work their whole life, becoming homeless because that's the problem with growth. I mean, it's a supply and demand thing, and right now we are short that housing. Sheila's.
Yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. That's like I said, when people first come to us, is start the application process and get on the waiting list. There's one thing before I leave this that I may not think of again, and somebody may ask the question that gets us totally off and myself off. We get so many calls that there's people we can't help, we can't shelter, and you're going to be surprised at what I say, but it is animals. I thought if somebody asked us, what could we do to help you or help us, it would be, could you shelter some animals? Because it is exasperating to try to help people, but we cannot take the animals. We have children, we have elderly in the shelters, we have done it, and we have woefully been sorry. So, if anybody has any ideas, if this springs into anybody's mind and you think anything about it, please contact us. You can reach out to me or to Connie, Nancy, anybody on our team. You can call our hotline, because it is something that we have had to turn away numerous people because of animals. I know that's off the housing, but it's what we face and it's what we work with every day. But yes, housing's an issue.
And I just want to make one comment that, Terry, I don't want to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I agree with you in one sense, and I agree with Brian that it's extremely hard to make this, whatever it is, a round peg of a rental subsidy for somebody who's unhoused to fit into the fair market rents. That's where we need, like we saw in the film where they turned one of the outreach persons into a housing landlord negotiator. You can call that whatever you want. I've actually done that before in Boston in a very tight rent-controlled housing market, but I'm naive. I believe that if we did this the right way, we could find some landlords to help us start out and take the subsidies. But that's a private landlord decision, and I certainly don't want to knock an elderly person or anybody on a fixed income out of housing. But that's part of the issue. And Mark, do you have something you want to say?
I'm gonna sound like the Sheila fan club down here. You go back to Prosperity Point, and I know there's maybe some in the room that like that model, and maybe some in the room that don't like that model. That's not a bad model to have, because you can control your growth, and when I've talked to Sheila, the cost of building those units are not outrageous, and as the problems rise and increase in numbers and scopes, you're able to grow it simply by adding additional units. So I'm going to tell you, that's why I go back. You've got some programs here that can be built upon, and it's not the perfect model, obviously, but that's a doable model when you look at what it takes to add. I want to say, you told me one time you look at adding groups of 3. Did I remember that correctly? It was 4 at a time. And you look at that model. You know, if you go out and buy, build apartment units, I mean, you're looking at $3-4 million. You can add 4 of those units that she's doing at a much cheaper rate. So, you know, you've already got some models in place. You may want to look at it and say, how do we take Prosperity Point and maybe improve it or duplicate it somewhere else inside McMinnville or Warren County?
And Who's got another question out there? Who's next? Trying to get our hand out right here. Over here, Charlie, you just pass somebody. Right here.
I tend to talk really loud too. Mark, as you mentioned, Sheila's model, and we look at affordable housing. One, there are so many challenges in getting affordable housing approved under the HUD model sometimes. So, are there programs that would allow us to look at more like Sheila's model, but use some of those funds in doing that instead of looking at apartment complexes and those type of things?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that anybody's pitched that to, on a grant application to build. I don't know, Sheila, if you looked at any of that, but I'm not familiar. Because, you know, you were one of the first tiny home models in the state of Tennessee, were you not? Yeah. Okay.
Can I just ask, I want to clarify, the tiny homes are transitional housing, right? It's not permanent housing.
Yes, they are
Okay.
transition.
Right.
It's not permanent supportive housing.
But it gets people off the street. So
Yeah,
it's that first step.
And that's been our goal, and that's what we always say, even if you guys had permanent supportive housing, and I don't mean you guys, because I do think it's all of us.
You want to get a mic?
And that's why somebody said, well, how did I feel about it, whatever, how did we feel about it? We're cool, because we'll send you some people. But,
And it's not you, it's all of us. Yeah,
that's right.
It's not you.
That's right. That's right. That's what I said. If you get supportive housing, we got people to send. And then there will always be people to come to us. You know what I mean? We will always have it. We'll always be a bridge the gap organization. Because that's what we're here for, is to bridge the gap between the streets and the home. So if somebody gets permanent supportive housing, hoorah. And we'll send them.
My name is Ross Parlow. I got a question. I work for an agency here in town. I'm a licensed master social worker and a licensed alcohol and drug abuse counselor level 2. This is a bigger question for the panel, but within the state of Tennessee, Terry knows this, I cannot bill for that LADIC license for any services for substance use. My license is not allowed to bill any services for substance use. Sorry. The question is the system that Don was talking about, such as a license level to provide substance use counseling, you can't provide it in the state of Tennessee because my license is not recognized. Or a state license is not recognized to be billed for a billable service.
Have to talk to Bill Lee about that.
No, but I'm saying, But I'm saying it's a bigger question to ask because my license I have for the state of Tennessee, I can't bill any services under at all. So you have a bigger question. The system's not just about substance use counseling, which I can do, but I can't because I can bill under my LMSW license for services. So you ask, so Riley has a question. We're talking to Bill Lee about this. But, you know, sometimes the systems don't mesh with what you really want to do. You know? I love substance use counseling. It's my passion. You know, I've been doing it for a long time. I've been sober a long time. But I just think sometimes the systems don't allow you to do something that you really want to do. You know? And that should be a system that if you fix it, you can hire somebody who really wants to do substance use counseling.
It'd be something the state would have to take up and fix that for you.
But it's a big question to ask. But
All right, do we have another question?
My name is Gannon Richardson. I'm the director of Survey 25, and I pastor a campaign, Three Rivers Baptist Church. I want to say thank you to Mr. Jimmy Haley. I'm a transplant. My neighbors on our road called me a transplant. Moved to Warren County in 2020. Became a director of a nonprofit in 2022. I emailed all of our county commissioners and our county executive. The only response, or the only meeting I was able to get was with Mr. Jimmy Haley. And meant so much to me as a transplant for this meeting, so thank you. I want to invite all of our county commissioners and county executives. We'd love to have you. We're hosting a warming center, emergency shelter for our homeless folks. I would love for you to get to meet the people that we're talking about tonight. They have names, they have faces, and so I would encourage you to come and join us when you have a chance. My question, talked with multiple county commissioners, and I keep getting a response that you mentioned tonight about the busing in homeless people from Murfreesboro and from Cookville is what I hear. We don't want to be the next Cookville. And so I'm curious, is there any evidence that that has taken place? I've talked with Sheila, and our numbers, I completely agree with Sheila, our numbers are way down as well of the people that we're serving, and I see no evidence in the last 3.5 years that there's any busing or transporting of people in. And we want to make Warren County a better place to live, and so if there is, I would love to hear that, and how do we combat that at a government level?
I know in my experience having taken care of people in our local emergency room that yes, they said that they have been brought here specifically by the Cookville Rescue Mission on passenger vans, given $20-40 in cash and told good luck. So again, that's from the horse's mouth in a couple of people that I've interacted with in the hospital setting.
You keep in mind this population, they're very transient a lot of times, so they're moving on their own. And they're going to move from community to community. You know, the honest answer is yes. I go back looking at it from our perspective, our main office is in Cookville, and the Greyhound transports people back and forth from Nashville Rescue Mission up to the Cookville Rescue Mission and back and forth. That happens. But it's along that I-40 corridor, probably more so. You might get a little bit from Murfreesboro, but probably not like somebody's living along Interstate 40.
The only thing, I mean, we've heard from Ron and some people in the community. As far as personally knowing that, I'm not going to tell you that I know that it happens, but we've been told that it's happening in the county.
First, Gannon, I can't thank you enough. And First United, when you guys came on the scene, and now you're sheltering people, you're not sheltering men, you're sheltering women and children. And First United, Ryan, Jimmy, all of us that work together in this, and hats off, because this season is difficult, and you guys are amazing. And Billy and Sandra, you guys are rock stars. Absolutely. So, as far as the data and Cookville Rescue Mission, we've never experienced that. I've heard this rumor a lot here in Warren County. And we have a hotline. In our hotline, we have a database, and it has a lot of information. These questions are extensive. We get to know our people, and I promise, there's no way I would sit here and lie about this. I promise you, 84% of our calls are from this county. They are either longtime residents or lifetime residents of this county. 84%. Does that, and the numbers hold true year after year. Does it mean there are no one here that has come through here, stopped, or whatever? Absolutely, sure there is. But 84%, I promise.
And I'll just say that the other day we had a meeting planning for this event with the Board of Match, and 60% of our board is not from here. And I actually grew up here, and I moved away for some time, and I come back, and I'm still an outsider. So, you know, it's hard to figure out how you feel about that in the county.
Well, as part of this panel, I've kind of got a question I guess myself. We need to get to the root of this problem if 84% of the people are actually from Warren County. What's actually causing our residents that have been here lifelong residents to have to become homeless? Because you can't fix a problem. You can't fix a problem until you get to the root of the problem.
A permanent option.
Oh, I think that's what Mark said, you know, maybe at, wasn't that something you mentioned, like using the tiny home model as permanent supportive housing? And actually, we have acreage in we're about to double our bed size, and we God willing, we're going to build more.
Well, just one response to that is that it's not in the film per se, but a lot of nonprofits and cities and around the country, organizations are looking at modular housing, not mobile homes, but it's a more cost-effective way of creating housing more inexpensively and quickly. But one of the things is you want people to live in the community and be able to, have a social life and everything, and where you put the housing and all that. That's a whole other thing that I think hopefully we discuss and research as we go forward. Housing is important, but you also want people and Don, correct me if I'm wrong, but the statistics are, like you saw when they were talking about housing first, the private landlords and people living in community, just like everybody else, it helps the dignity and the services come with them. But we're going to close this off here. Don, do you have a question? It's the last question.
Last question. My only question, first of all, I've enjoyed my time here and a half. I'm going to be darting out of here to get home for the weather and driving. But my question is, are you guys willing to set up a table, with the city, with the county, with the healthcare administrators, and representative from the faith community? Everybody that homelessness touches in your community, are you willing to set up a table that meets on a regular basis to discuss, keep this discussion going? Would you be willing to do that, is my question.
Absolutely. I think everybody in Warren County, this problem is a community problem, and the government never solved anything by themselves. It's the residents of we've got to have the churches. I want to thank all of them that are putting the warming shelters and things together. That's the way this has got to work, because the government, like I say, it becomes into a lot of red tape, but the government's willing to sit down and listen and work with anybody we can.
Yeah, and our organization is certainly very willing to participate and find ways to collaborate with the local officials any way we can to provide those health services and social services and anything else we can do to support.
Yes, absolutely. I think just mirroring what Terry and Neil said, that there's definitely interest in it from the side of the city.
I would agree. I mean, these conversations go on. I think it's great that you have this event. This ain't the first time you talk about homelessness. It's not the first time these problems will be tackled. Unfortunately, a lot of times the general public doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I go back, the fact that you've got such a turnout today is a testament to the will of this community.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank everybody.
Hang on one second. So my next question simply is, for the people who came here tonight, a lot of people left, but for you, are you guys willing to be part of the solution in this community and support them? They're going to set up a plan, a homeless response system, but are you willing to be part of it and to support and also form relationships with folks that are struggling? That's my question to you guys.
Don, we want to thank you for a great film, for being here and taking your time, and everybody for spending your time, especially the panel, for taking the time and the sacrifice to be here. And we hope we have an ongoing conversation in the community. And again, thank you for being here tonight. If anybody wants to hang around and ask Don Sawyer some questions afterward, or he's going to hang out for a little bit.